G'day, mate. Now the bloody hell are ya? Welcome to In the Back of My Head podcast, episode 85. It's a creative journal that comes out sometimes. It's where I have a yap about creativity, whether it's in the back of my head, try and make some sense of it all, try and clear some clutter, and if you get anything out of it, bloody brilliant. I hope that you do. I passed by a sandwich shop as of late that I frequent, that I love. Makes a damn good sandwich. But I wasn't aware that they opened at night. That was new to me, and I peered in, and I saw a couple of people eating sandwiches, drinking a bottle of wine, and playing cards. It was raining outside. Lights were shining off the wet tram tracks, hitting my eye, and making me quite nostalgic. Quite melancholy, feeling melancholy. And seeing these two people sitting there drinking wine and playing cards made me yearn for downtime, for rest. I happened upon this little glimpse of a situation, this little glimpse of a tiny world, while I was living maybe one of the busiest times of my life that I can remember in the recent years. I've been running myself ragged. Entirely my own doing, entirely my own fault, entirely my own choices, and it's all good things, been doing lots of good stuff. So I'm not here to complain, I'm not here to deny that I've got a very easy little existence that I've carved out for myself and was gifted by the world. But it was a moment seeing these two that made me realize how potentially aggressively I need to grasp onto some downtime, force myself to slow down, really focus properly on having a good goddamn rest. And so if you feel ragged at all, then this might be of some assistance to you, at least in making you think about where your head's at the moment. Because it's a downfall to downside. It is an easy pitfall of having a lot of time on your hands. I would go so far as to say that this is a massive issue for people in the modern age. That while we cannot afford many things, our spending power has dropped significantly and yada yada, times are tough, cost of living, etc. We also have a lot of time on our hands and a lot of ability on our hands. We have every tool, we have every possible outcome at our fingertips. And especially for someone like myself, I also have time. I also have a lot of time on my hands. And yet, I'm one of the busiest people I know, and I realize that's almost a sunk cost fallacy in a way. Does sunk cost fallacy work in this particular situation? I'm not entirely sure. I suppose it's sort of similar to the theory or just like the occurrence that as you get more money, as you get wealthier, so too do you spend more, and so you don't end up having more money. In fact, you often go into more debt than you were in when you were poor. Your spending habits go up. You live within your means. Well, you don't live within your means. You live as your means allow. And so when you are broke, you afford a shitbox car just to get yourself around. And then when you're filthy fucking rich, you buy yourself a BMW and you send your kids to boarding schools, private schools, and the like. And you spend all your goddamn money. And I feel sort of similar in that I have no money, but I certainly have built myself a life where I am wealthy with time. Extremely wealthy with time. I can roll around in it. I can roll around in time and get it all up in my crevices. And so I feel guilty when I don't fill every second of that time with stuff. So I would say over the past 4 to 5 years, I've been really chasing productivity. I've been really trialing lots of different techniques to see what works for my brain, because I believe it always is down to what works for your particular brain. trying to figure out ways to manage my time most effectively so I can achieve as many things or just fill my days with stuff. Be that drawing, be that music, be that poetry, be it running events, be it hanging out with people, everything goes into the calendar. And I got really into, and still am currently, into time blocking. And when I've spoken to people about this, they were like, oh, of course, you got a time block. But I'm time blocking every single day. I'm time blocking in when I'm playing video games. I'm time blocking in when I'm working out, which is also good. But I'm time blocking in every part of my life, every part of my creative process, every part of hanging out with people. It's all blocked into hours in a calendar. And I live and die by it and a to-do list to make sure that I'm doing the stuff that I so desire. And again, all good things, all great things, all the things that I want to do. So no, oh, woe is me to be found here. I know this is entirely my self-imposed frustration and exhaustion. You've got time for everything, and so now you have time for nothing. And then funnily enough, while I was in this mood and in this situation that I caused for myself, I was reading a book that was sort of the polar opposite. A book entitled The Wall by Marlen Haushofer. Marlen Haushofer? It's a 1963 novel by an Austrian writer. And spoiler for like the first couple of pages, that a invisible wall gets placed around this person and a good segment of a forest. She's cut off from the outside world, and she can see on the other side of the world that it is frozen, while on her side everything continues on. But she is alone save for a dog and a cat and a cow. And the book is just her living her life, just chilling, man, just chilling out in this forest, in a hut, making the best of things, doing the daily chores that must be done. And I say chilling out, but she wasn't chilling. In fact, she was quite stressed because she had to live off the land. She had to work. She had to plant potatoes and beans and take care of a cow and a dog and all these other things. And I'll say not too much more about the book. If you haven't read it, it's such a good read. It is very calming, and there's no chapters, which sort of hurts the brain a little bit while you're reading it, because you don't have those nice little, I think it's great about the story, but you don't have those markers, you don't have those save points. She was quite stressed, but I say calming, and I believe, I discussed this with my partner, but I said, was quite, like, she seems quite at peace, and she said, does she? She doesn't seem peaceful to me. I said, you're right, she doesn't seem peaceful, but she does seem calm. Because she was working every single day, she was working really hard, but she was working as was demanded. And I've been thinking a lot about that as I read novels set just any time prior to the 1950s, or the 1960s or 70s. That sense of living as life demands of you, working as life demands of you. Well, you don't really have a choice of how you spend your time, because your time is decided by what you need to do in order to survive. And I thought that was kind of funny when speaking to many a mate of mine and thinking to myself of the stress that we feel, the way that we feel weighed down and aimless, overall stems from the fact that I don't think we were ever meant to have this level of agency. And I'm feeling that for myself, of the level of control and the level of determination I have over my own time is a beautiful, beautiful, lucky duck of a thing. God, how fortunate am I? And I am. I'm not being facetious in any way. Of course I am. Of course I'm fucking lucky as all hell. But then it's funny of how much that stresses you out. Of looking at an empty calendar and thinking, God, what am I going to make of that? What am I going to make of that time? And especially what am I going to make of myself? The demands of what it takes to survive are very, very limited. Basically, feed yourself. Go to work a little bit, enough so you can pay rent, and you're sweet. But we get obsessed. We get obsessed with time blocks, the empty canvas that is the calendar and our lives in general. And we think to ourselves, fuck it, now I better do something with it. Otherwise, what will they all think? What will they all think, mate? There is much outside stimuli. There is much outside guidance. There are many factors that come into play when your future is decided. Every single person's path is different. But at the same time, storms feel different. A storm when you're in the wilderness, in a tiny little hut looking after a cat and a dog and a cow, really fucking means something. And we're gonna have some big fucking storms in the rest of our lifetime. Thanks to rising sea temperatures and global warming in general, we're all gonna fucking cook and get our hair blown out. We're gonna experience some storms. But currently as it stands, that level of comfort that you have is pretty disarming in terms of giving a sense of guidance, giving a sense of purpose and direction. And so I feel like we latch onto things. I feel like we latch on to our identifiers, be that a job, something that you do, a hobby, or what have you. However you identify yourself, whatever thing that you latch on to give yourself some sort of buoyancy amongst the waves, some sort of suit, some sort of costume that you can put on that will allow you to play your little role in this bizarre and confusing world. Try and take out as much of the chaos as possible. Try and take out as much chaos as possible. Now, I still understand that it's very funny and I would say daft, dumb, and stupid to compare modern trials and tribulations to being alone in the wilderness or any form of living off the land. It's a very different experience, and one that I can't possibly understand or relate to. However, the amount that I see people that I know, people I see personally out and about at events and yada yada, is their agonizing fear towards chaos, agonizing fear towards what is tomorrow bringing, what is around the corner. And so, of course, we latch on to any form of structure, any form of rules, any form of expected. Gosh, we want to expect what should be expected. We just want to know what's coming up next. We want to know that it's all going to work out, that if you play the game right, if you play your cards, then you will be rewarded. But part of this book that really struck me was the wall coming down was on day 1. That's page 2, I'm pretty sure. Doesn't really speak much about her past, and she doesn't seem too concerned with her past. She really snaps into the life that is imposed upon her, and she finds great frustration and fear in it, but she also finds great purpose and direction by the things one must do simply to survive and look after other people. People, I mean cats and dogs and cows. And it made me think of something that I've kind of held in the back of my head for a long time, is that I have a strong belief that human beings are extremely good at adapting to situations very quickly, and I think people are better at it than they anticipate. Because we get really scared, we get really lost in our head thinking about what's coming next, about that potential chaos, about anything other than the structure that we have already defined in our minds or has been defined for us. However, I mean, I looked at COVID as like the perfect example of that, of just in a couple of days, how quickly things can go from one way to the other, and people find a way. People figure it out. People make sense of it. People change their very identity to adapt to the situation. They have to if they're going to survive, not physically in this situation, but mentally survive anyway. The way that my life is dictated by the calendar, ruled by that calendar, I guess, is that framework that I live by. And when you're left alone, and once you're left to your own devices out in the woods looking after a cat and a dog and a cow, then you find yourself not beholden to a 7-day work week or a monthly calendar or years. I think she keeps time in it. She does. She keeps time in it vaguely. But she speaks quite a bit about that loss of time, where time stands still and she is allowed to move through it. Whereas to me, I feel like time is a rushing current that I'm fighting against, lest it wash me back downstream, fighting upstream, trying to, once again, get somewhere. Where? I don't know. And so the sense of resting at designated periods does not seem to come to her any longer. She does what tasks need to be done in the amount of time that it takes to do them, and then when that is done and her body tells her, she rests. So something that really struck me was taking a week off because the body has told you, because the body has communicated to you. It's very good. The body is very good, I believe, as well. Just like knowing when to call it quits, pushing through until that moment when it's like, all right, now let's chill the fuck out, mate. Let's take a load off. And I really felt that. The last few weeks of these 2 months where I've just been pushing myself, filling every slot in my calendar with something. And I felt my body start to tell me, mate, enough is quite enough at this point. And so I want to start getting better, and I might start using time blocking a little bit less, might start ditching some of those time management skills and thinking more organically, trying to be more beholden to just the outside forces that affect me, and letting myself just work hard when it feels right to work hard, and then rest when it feels time to rest. And I suppose that's the hardest part of all this. Again, just a mental roadblock, a mental hurdle that you might yourself feel as well, is that sense of you were working hard one day and now you're resting and now you feel like you're a piece of shit. But these constructs that you're living by and that I hold myself to of work. I try and work Monday through Thursday, and then I go to actual paid work for Thursday afternoon and then Friday, and then the weekends are also sometimes filled with work or sometimes filled with going away, doing other shit, DJing, yada yada. Again, what bloody good things. Don't get me wrong that I feel extremely privileged and extremely lucky. But because I designate those little blocks for each thing, and then on those days, the Monday through Wednesday, when I feel like I don't want to do anything, but it says so in the calendar that it's time to do the thing, then and you also feel crazy when you get yourself in a manic mood, when you feel like you can just work all day and all night on a project, and that's also good. But there's an ebb and flow. There's always an ebb and a flow, an up and a down. I'm on the come down right now. I want to spend a lot of time just chilling at this desk, and that might look like working, drawing, hanging out, but it's at a very different pace. It's at a very different deadline. There's a different meaning to it. There's a permission to just chill the fuck out. So that's what I'm thinking about as it comes to productivity, creativity, and time blocking. And if you're struggling to give yourself enough time to do anything, or you're struggling overworking yourself with some sort of semblance of goal or semblance of responsibility, maybe you need to be more beholden to your own body, be more beholden to the world around you. Who's to say? That's what I'm thinking at the moment. I don't remember when I wrote this, but I wrote this just in my notes. And I thought it was a good summary to everything I just put down, is that you work to build your life, but you're all too aware of how fragile your situation is. In this modern age, everything is as it is, as it was, and will be. We're not aware of how quickly things can change, of how powerful nature is. Not just wind and rain, sun and time, but people together, collective power, fears, dreams, and tides. There is a peace in relinquishing control or perception of these false constructs. Allow one to work, change things and build, but it's all ebbing and flowing. No one has ever known what tomorrow brings. You don't know what tomorrow brings, mate. And sometimes you need a rest. It's a bloody month between this and the last episode, so who knows when the next one will be. I'll try and make it sooner. If I have more time just chilling at my desk, there will be more. I need to get back into the headspace for it. Working on it. And in the meantime, I hope that you're making stuff. I hope that you're thinking calmly and feeling at ease with the world around you. Or at least at ease in the chaos. Be well, mate. And I'll fucking catch you on the next one, eh?